Hello and welcome to As a Service with Andy. Today we're going to talk about, so I've decided that I want some type of a service for my business. Where would I go? How do I even begin? And is there resellers? Do I go directly? Do I hire a consultant? And there's a couple of different ways you can go about doing this. And realistically, it's all dependent upon your needs. So what need you have as a business? Do I need consultation? Do I need help walking through the process? Do I trust the vendor that I'm going to be working with? Which is a whole nother question that you need to take into consideration. Whether or not you're going to go with that vendor. But if it's that industry that you don't know which vendor you trust, then that's a whole nother question that you need to ask yourself. And then, is there other SaaS or as a service items that I can get if I go to a single source, and they will help me manage or not manage, as much as you would like, all those different vendors. Plus they already know what works together and what doesn't. And so there's a number of ways that you can go about this, but I love the channel. I think the channel is great. You've got great companies out there that do the channel. If you want to know who those companies are, you can ping me. I might mention them a little bit in this video. But those companies will help you make the right decision on, okay, so I'm going to go to some type of a service. I'm going to go to platform as a service, and maybe I want to do some software as a service at the same time. Or you might be looking at infrastructure as a service, or some type of communications as a service, whether that's video conferencing as a service, unified communication as a service. But I'm going to do a couple of them. And so when I do that, then is there kind of these experts out there that can help me? And sure, you have this little podcast that I can point you in the right direction, and I'm always happy to help, so you can ping me and I will definitely get you hooked up with the right individuals. But realistically, just ask yourself those few questions up front and know what it is that your objective is from a company. So what does my boss want me to do? What does the company want to do with this? What are our objectives? And that becomes the biggest thing that you can possibly realize is, okay, if my objective is to save money, have somebody else manage it, improve something, those are some really good questions to start asking yourself. And if you know what that objective is, it's really difficult, and by the way, just for anybody's thoughts, but it's really hard to just say, oh yeah, we're going to go this direction without any rationale behind it. I'm in product, and one of the things that we always do is we always want to determine the what and the why. How becomes less important as what and the why, because those are where our objectives are, those are where our goals are, and that's really what we're trying to satisfy. And so that what and that why, right? Now, don't forget you always have the who in product management, but that what and that why essentially leads me to my ultimate goal, leads me to my objective, and then makes it all worthwhile. So how you get there is a little bit of what we're talking about today, but is making sure that you have that what and why first, and then when you do, then you can go ahead and proceed down the path of figuring out which is the best avenue to get there. So in doing so, you want to look at, so you've got your objective in mind, you've got your what and your why in mind. Now you're going to take the next step in the process, and that is, okay, do you know anyone first? Do you know anyone in the business? There's great companies out there, and people can tell you a lot. And I'm a big fan of several of them, because I know several of the people there, and I know what they've done for companies and individuals alike. So you go and engage with them, and they're going to go through and they're going to make sure that they understand your what and why. They're going to make sure that you understand your objective. They're going to make sure that they meet your needs based upon that criteria. So that's where you want to start stepping into, is what is my objective for going to as a service. And by the way, we're finding that objective has grown immensely in the last several months since the pandemic has hit, because there just is not the same need for office space. Just between us on this call, office space is going to change dramatically. This is just an Andyism. I have no other credible source to tell you that other than office space is going to change dramatically. The open offices from the Zuckerberg days, yeah, those are I'm already getting customers talking to me about, oh yeah, we're going to have to start going back to offices again if we're even going to have an office space. Those monthly leases and those monthly rents, yep, I just don't know that they're going to be the same anymore. When companies realize that they could get productivity from their employees, it doesn't matter what kind of employee they were. If it wasn't a direct service, and I mean direct hands-on service, or it wasn't a small business that you were coming into, or one of those things, then what we found very, very simply was that people can still be productive and work in a home environment with dogs barking and kids going nuts and the doorbell ringing and all that fun stuff. And so, not to get on a total sidetrack on the pandemic stuff, but that's what this is all about. When you're looking at as a service, you're going, yeah, I can't host that in my environment anymore. There's a whole bunch of reasons why not. A, I may not have a person there to sit and hit the button, and granted, we don't want that person to sit there at home with the server hitting a button. I have seen that too many times in my past. I won't mention any names of companies that I know that exactly happens to, but it does a lot more than you think. People keep backups on personal computers and on all kinds of those things, and this is where as a service changes everything. So I'm looking to engage a partner. How do I make sure that, again, I've said it a couple times, I'm going to say it again, that objective. What's my objective? What do I want to accomplish? Well, that might be as simple as I want to alleviate the pain that I'm feeling from the pandemic or the prosperity, whichever it might be for you. And then once you realize that that's what you want to do, then you get to go in that engagement. And there's some really quick wins, quick places you can go and at least start having the conversation. And if you're looking at platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, any of the things that I mentioned before, communications as a service, there's companies out there that do all of it. They resell all of them. Yes, they're a middleman. They're absolutely a middleman, but they're a value-added middleman, many of them. Not all of them, in my opinion. And again, if you want my opinions, just go ahead and send me a note. Very, very easy to do down in the link. And once you send me a comment there, and I will respond in kind. So I'd be happy to tell you what my preferred vendors are. And in fact, I'm hoping to have one of them on this show here in the next little bit, because there, not one, if not a couple, but there's just value in doing that. So think about this again. Where do I want to be, and what has the pandemic exactly changed? Has it just changed my office space? Okay, so it has. So then you start to look at not just as a service in the plain Jane format, right? Just in the infrastructure and the platform and the communications and the contact center and the unified communications, but you start to look even better at things like VCAS, because as a service, if I look at my objective, I want to be able to enable people to work from home, do their jobs effectively. And if you're a B2B business or you're a B2B2C business, then you need to figure out how to make your employees much more effective when they're at home and still be able to maintain all your compliance, all of the necessary things that you normally would do to run a day-to-day business. And when you're doing that, then you're also need to take into consideration this crazy thing that the pandemic has imposed on us, culture. One of the things that has definitely impacted our entire society is the cultural impact, especially the cultural impact in an office space. And so, again, I guess I just love this tangent, but I mean, office space is severely impacted, and so it's not just the place that I'm going to and the hour that I spent getting there and the $6 that I spent on the Starbucks on my way there, and then the drive home, which was an hour, which hopefully you just cleared your head before you got to your family and let them have it because you'd had a day or whatever that might be. At this point in time, there's a cultural aspect that is missing. There's a lot of people who enjoy the culture. I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'm behind, totally behind, but I love it. But one of the things that's interesting is that all those people feel like they're family. Now, granted, they live together on a translucent or invisible airplane all the time, but the deal is they feel like family. A lot of people in the cultural workspace feel like family. So the whole reason I bring all that up, total long-winded way of getting to this. You might think of some cultural things as a service. VCAS as a service, right? Video conferencing as a service. Now, granted, I have an extreme bias here, and I can tell you all about that bias at any point in time that you want, but I do, but it really doesn't matter. You just need to get something like that. And it may not be VCAS. You know, Slack and Teams have been very, very effective in helping some of that maintain. But one of the things that I love about a service like VCAS is I got our marketing guy. He's doing trivia like, I don't know, every other week so far. So we got trivia, we got bingo going on. We do spontaneous dance parties. But that's all done in the cloud as a service for individuals to maintain culture. You know, you don't necessarily have the coffee pot that people can go stand around, and if you're in some cities, then they have more than a coffee pot that you go stand around. Some cities in the world, I'm telling you, they have different means, and San Francisco is definitely a different world when it comes to what companies have provided their employees. You know, do you have wine at lunch or whatnot? But the point is there was a cultural aspect where people could communicate and interact with one another. And right now we're just grabbing at straws, right? We're going, okay, well, I probably need to have a VCAS solution for inter-office and customer communication, and I need to go grab this or I need to go grab some type of a messaging platform so that we can have communication. And you know, I don't mean to disparage Microsoft or inflate Microsoft, but Teams is great. There are some serious drawbacks to Teams, and boy, do I wish they would have made those APIs instead of doing them made much, much sooner. But it's still as a service, it's a platform, and it is workable. And Slack, you know, everybody just bows down to the almighty Slack because it's good. It's really, really good, and it's very open-ended, and it's got a lot of the API stuff. But it's just not used as much. So again, going back to my simple thought process. What is your objective? What do you want to accomplish? You know, there's so many ways that you can justify something like this, because this is not just value and perceived value. This is actual value. This is value. This is money back into the company's pocket. This is money that is generated through these as a service providers. So you've got a lot to explore here and a lot of options. If you need help, you know where to find me. Very, very simple, and I'm always bird.andy@gmail.com, so you're welcome to ping me at any time, and I will give you my thoughts if they're worth anything to you. Otherwise, hopefully I just gave you something to think about. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. We'll talk to you next week.